Does anyone have a question? You know, the deepest need in every human being is to love and be loved and to live, a life that's full of joy, full of love, with inner peace, quiet. And that's really basically what we're trying to do here. To use the meditation to get the mind quiet, the emotions, the sexual energy, and to truly, everybody talks about wanting inner peace. Well, that's really the goal of all this, to be able to live in the world and actively partake in the world and live your life. At the same time, there's quiet, there's inner peace, there's love, there's the ability to, have compassion for other people. That's what this is about. We learn how to become human. Does anyone have a question? I mean, there are steps on the ladder, No one's going to have a spiritual life until they fulfill the highest levels of the humanity. And what is that? They're capable of compassion, forgiveness. Their hearts are open. The ability to love unconditionally in the world. It's that becoming, it's really tapping that level of energy in ourselves. That it's like on a step ladder. It's the major step towards really connecting to God, connecting to higher energy, fulfilling ourselves as human beings living in the world, working out our karma. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart. On your posts for the um, your posts you're doing on my brain.
Excuse me?
The posts you're posting, you're up to 70 or 80 or 90. I can't remember. I can't grasp the word for the topic of your posts.
No, it doesn't matter. Just what's the question?
Yeah. Do you recommend reading them in order or just tapping in anywhere?
I recommend just opening them anywhere. Every single one of them has something to teach. And probably, people used to tell me they'd open my books and they without anything, they would come to a page that was exactly what they needed to learn at that moment. And these things are the same thing. So, you don't have to read them in order.
Tantra, that's the word I couldn't remember.
Well, Tantra is the name of the book.
Right.
So there's going to be 108 short essays. And, usually, when people write about Tantra, it's all about sexual energy. And, they show pictures of gods and, their consorts and, Mahasiddhas and their consorts. And it gets pretty erotic. Well, Tantra is a much deeper thing than that. As I said many times, the sexual energy is essential to the activation of Kundalini. But Tantra, not only is that, but it really goes through almost every facet of what it is to be alive in this world. What it is to surrender, what it is to love, what it is to convert all the fear, the insecurity in oneself into a spiritual life. That's what Tantra is all about. And when I started doing this, I had no idea what I was doing. It just kind of came out of me. And then I began to see what it was, what is coming out of me, what has to happen. And I never guided it with my head. It would always, it's just everything was written from energy that flowed through me. But, the erotic nature of Tantra is also important because the act of lovemaking is one of the highest forms of meditation. If people are conscious when they do it, if there really is unconditional love, there really is compassion, patience in a human being, and then these highest elements are shared, the mind gets quiet and there's this transmission of energy that will activate Kundalini. So it's a very interesting process because it doesn't work if the heart is closed. It doesn't work if you're analyzing it and thinking about it. It works if you're in a state of total surrender. If you truly have found that nothingness inside yourself and are in a state of total surrender, that's when Tantra works. Otherwise, people who really use each other badly with sex, it's power trips, it's all kind of political things, it's all kinds of stuff, getting ahead in the world. But that's not what it's about. It's about surrender. It's about love. It's about unconditional giving and receiving. It's about truly attaining the highest levels of what it means to be a human being. And if you have a partner in your life that is working towards attaining the same things, then, the erotic nature of Tantra is one of very deep meditation, extremely deep meditation. That meditation which brings together the male-female principle in a human being, the marriage of Shiva Shakti gives birth to Kundalini. And all of this is in this book, I've written so many of these things, I don't even remember one from the other anymore, but it's all there. I go over them and it's all there. And there'll be another 3 of them posted on Friday. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you. Stuart, I have a question. Bob Sink.
Oh, Bob, my evening wouldn't be complete if I didn't get it. What is it, Bob?
For those of us who do not have sexual partner, how do we navigate?
Bob, Tantra is also not only through eroticism. Tantra takes place when you draw energy through the sex chakra, and that energy will activate Kundalini. So it can take place through, sexual relations with another human being. It also takes place while you meditate. You draw that energy through the sexual area. And when you draw the energy, the chi, the power that's in the 3rd chakra through the sexual area, that power, there's a union, what they call Shiva, the yoni and the lingam, the Shiva Shakti. There's a masculine and feminine union that takes place. That marriage gives birth to Kundalini. And that's not only through sexual intercourse, it's through deep meditation that you can make this happen. So it's not, this is not like you gotta, I mean, look, one of the hardest things to do is to fall in love with somebody unconditionally. You really have to have elevated humanity to do that. But there also is these classes, there's when you meditate at home, you work on yourself, you build a chakra system that enables that energy to flow the way I described it through the sexual area and create the marriage of Shiva and Shakti, the male-female union that takes place there. And that marriage will activate Kundalini. And this is for male, female, it's for gay, straight, whatever your initial is in the alphabet there. It's for any, it can be trans, you can be anything. You just have to build a chakra system that's strong enough to draw the energy through the sexual area and allow the male-female principle to unify. Will activate Kundalini, and it's the beginnings of a spiritual life. And then as you evolve in the spiritual life, it takes you deep, deep. It really ultimately frees a human being. So it could be through meditation. It could be through, a love relationship you have with another human being. Does anyone else have a question? I hope this is clear, because it's really important, this stuff, I mean, people write about it. There's a million books written on Tantra, Kundalini, all this stuff, It's different from reading a book and building a system inside oneself that can truly experience the nature of how that energy flows and how that energy's purpose is to give a human being connection with God and a spiritual life. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Very nice. Okay, if there are no more questions, then there'll be meditation tomorrow evening. We come together and try to unite Shiva Shakti here. I mean, that's what this is supposed to be about. I mean, it's not about me having students, it's about energy that really transmits so that people can do this inside themselves. They grow. I mean, look, 20 years ago, I had no idea what any of this stuff was all about. It was only through the development of chakra system that allowed this to become clear. I mean, when I was in Pashupatinath in Kathmandu, I mean, yeah, it was fun and taking photographs with Naga Babas and, meditating in Pashupati. But the reality is that somewhere back in the 6th century, the people that created those sculptures there, those statues, the lingams, the yonis, the nandis, the cobra rising, I mean, they understood this, and they had to come out of their experience because they weren't just, doing promiscuous sexual things. It really had to do with realization, God realization about how the energy works inside a human being. I mean, it was brilliant and masterful, understanding and depicting of how energy works in the sexual area of a human being. And that's what they were doing, But you have to evolve and grow. It took me years to begin to connect with that and understand how profound it was, what these people were doing, and how profound, the meditation that Rudy passed on to us, because basically it's has to do with the Nandi and the Yinkum and the Loni, the Lingam and the Yoni, and the rising of Kundalini, the Cobra. And they call it Shaivism. And it is Shaivism. The Hindus have a name for it, but it's more than just a name. It's true inner experience of how the energy works and how each and every one of us can utilize that energy, build a chakra system that's strong enough to let that happen to us. It's a pathway to God, and a very powerful one. Okay, if there are no more questions, then thank you. God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. And again, thanks. Thanks for being in my life. I mean, so much comes out in these classes, and I'm hoping that all of us are getting enriched by it, So God bless you all. And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Stuart.
Stuart.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank
you.